Alright, Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno fight this weekend for the final time, and we have well over an hour of footage of them two fighting together. This is the first quadrilogy in UFC history, and I'm here to break it down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. If you have questions for the Q&A on Thursday, comment below. Also, stay tuned to the end of this video to hear about the giveaway that we're going to be doing, and I don't want to waste any more time. Let's just get into this.
Who would you like to see fight next?
Moreno. I think we keep them both in town, and we try to turn this fight around as quick as we can. Neither one of these guys took damage tonight. Fights were done in a round, so I'll try to make that fight as soon as possible.
Will you say as soon as possible before the calendar turns to 2021?
Possibly.
Now, this whole saga started in November 21st of 2020, where Deiveson and Brandon Moreno would be fighting on the same night, and both get first round finishes, receiving little to no damage. Now, with next month's pay-per-view not having a main event, and these two not having damage at all, Figueiredo had said, hey, let me go step in December, and let me be the main event against Brandon Moreno, with just a little under 3 weeks of training, and let's fight each other. So one of the more important things to take note when we break down the first fight is that these two were not training for each other, right? These guys had 3 weeks, they both accepted, and on December 12th, we finally got to see them fight for the first time. Now, before we get into the first fight, I want to break down their styles, right? Brandon Moreno has more of an obvious boxing style. He usually keeps the hands up and is heavy on the lead leg, uses head movement when on the inside, and uses boxing combinations, which we're going to get into later. Now, Figueiredo has a little bit more of an interesting stance. He has a karate type stance, kind of like a Henry Cejudo type stance. We've seen Conor McGregor have this kind of stance before. It's a karate stance. Conor, I will say, is a lot more proficient at using this, where Figueiredo has clear flaws using this karate style. Moreno's style also helps him with rolling punches, which is very helpful because Figueiredo is known for his power. Now, the shoulder roll is best done by someone like Floyd Mayweather, where basically you roll your shoulder and move with the punch so it lessens the impact of it. So in these 3 fights, you really see Moreno doing that. Now, because of Moreno's boxing style, he's very jab heavy. He moves in using the jab, as well as throwing a lot of combinations with the hands. Yes, he sometimes uses kicks, but especially in this first fight, it's really just boxing. Now, with that being said, Deiveson Figueiredo, especially in the beginning of that first fight, was trying to land that right hand over the jab, and he had a lot of success with it in his first fight, but we'll see later in the other fights that later on he does get more successful with this thing. And he hurts Brandon Moreno a lot in this first fight, and with the first 2 rounds being very close, the fight starts getting really good at round 3. You see, throughout this whole fight, Deiveson Figueiredo best used the weapon of body kicks. Figueiredo would move into the southpaw stance and throw hard body kicks, sometimes even mixing it up to the head. But one of the more important things when talking about this matchup is foot position. Now, it's more well known that if you're fighting a southpaw fighter and you're orthodox, you want your lead foot to be on the outside, so then the right hands come straight down the middle and have a clear lane to get to the head, right? But you also want to do this if you're throwing a body kick. If you do it, the body kick lands a lot cleaner, and that's what Figueiredo was doing. Now, because of him throwing a lot of the kicks, mixing it up between roundhouse kicks and front kicks, he lands a hard front kick to the cojones of Brandon Moreno.
No. You see, this might be...
Now, this is definitely one of the worst illegal nut shots I have ever seen. Like, seriously, like, Figueiredo didn't want to just beat Moreno. He wanted to feed his future kids. He took this saying, I'm gonna beat you so bad that your kids feel it, to a literal level. But anyway, this is where the fight got good, because after that, Moreno gets up and really puts it on Figueiredo. And in the 4th round, also puts it on Figueiredo. And at this point, Figueiredo is gassed. And you could attribute that to taking the fight on short notice. You could also attribute it to him cutting weight 2 times in like a 3-week period. Especially Figueiredo is known to cut an absurd amount of weight. Now, Moreno throws a combination that is one of my favorite combinations, which is a double left hook. A left hook to the body and a left hook to the head. Obviously, throwing punches from the same hand is unorthodox. Usually, you're supposed to go 1-2, 3-2, you know, opposite hands, right? That's what makes this combination so tricky. Easy to catch someone because nobody's used to using the same hand. Caleb Plant have one of the best knockouts in boxing in 2022 with that same technique back in October. Now, like I said, Brandon Moreno, in my opinion, won round 3 and 4. And in round 5, the body kicks from Figueiredo that Moreno basically had no answer for the entire fight began hurting his arm because Moreno was only blocking the kicks with one arm. And because of the point deduction in round 3, the fight's declared a draw. If it wasn't for the point deduction, if it wasn't for that nut shot, then probably Figueiredo would have won that fight, right? So we take it about 6 months later to the rematch. Figueiredo gets his shoulder healed from blocking all of those body kicks, and we begin a controversial second fight. Now, the reason I say this is controversial is, look, as much as I want to break down this fight, and we will break down this fight, there isn't a lot to break down because there's a lot of speculation of, did Figueiredo perform so bad because of the weight cut, and how much was the improvements of Moreno? I felt like one of the things in the first fight was Moreno was a little hesitant. Deiveson Figueiredo was promoted as this really hard puncher, and I think that made Moreno a little hesitant to engage with him, but Moreno didn't have as much comfortability to committing as many shots as he did in the 2nd and 3rd fight. Figueiredo had a terrible weight cut. He almost missed weight in at like the last 10 minutes or something like that, and at UFC 263, we have the 2nd fight. Now, one of the things Moreno does early with Figueiredo is one of the techniques that he uses to address the southpaw stance of Figueiredo. He tries to deter Figueiredo from being in southpaw by throwing hard kicks to the inside of the leg. But we've seen people have success with this. For example, just last year we had Tony Ferguson have success against Nate Diaz doing this. We also had, more notably, Jan Blachowicz hurt Magomed Ankalaev using that same technique. And I think Moreno was throwing those inside leg kicks to say to Figueiredo, you can't just stay in southpaw, and make Figueiredo really work in southpaw. I don't know if I really touched on this yet, but Figueiredo's main weapon in southpaw is that body kick. Figueiredo, when he's boxing in the southpaw stance, isn't very good, which is why you only really see him kick in that stance. So Figueiredo is making him work in that stance, which makes Figueiredo say, I don't want to be in southpaw anymore, because he doesn't necessarily trust the boxing and really only has one weapon there. Now, this is going to be one of the keys when we're looking into the fourth fight, is I think hopefully Figueiredo in the past year hopefully learns to fight better in that southpaw stance, so he's not as deterred by the leg kicks of Brandon Moreno and does some damage with those kicks that were doing him so well in that first fight. Now, at the end of the first round, this is a very important exchange, which gives you a little background to how good Figueiredo really is in the grappling department. Now, Moreno knocks down Figueiredo with a jab, which obviously isn't very common, which tells you this weight cut was probably really tough on Figueiredo. Now, when we look at round two, Brandon Moreno is using more grappling, and I think this is a key to winning the fourth fight. Moreno was really able to gas out Figueiredo by getting those takedowns. Like I said, the heavy grappling and the top pressure from Brandon Moreno, though he was in guard of Figueiredo basically the whole round, Figueiredo landing elbows that eventually led to swelling above the eye of Brandon Moreno. This was very tiring because Deiveson tried to get up, and I think if Brandon Moreno could try to figure out how to get to this position, which I will get to at the end of this video, I think it'll definitely help him going into that fight. Now, one of the big errors of Figueiredo was that he was afraid to engage with Moreno. He didn't want to exchange with Moreno because I think the power of Moreno was really putting him off. But Figueiredo decides to try to use longer range weapons, and by that I mean throwing big overhands and missing big time with Moreno and getting off balance, which helps Moreno get those takedowns. And eventually in the third round, we all know Moreno wins the fight by rear naked choke. Now, at this point, in my opinion, including myself, everybody wrote Figueiredo off. Everybody said, hey, Brandon Moreno won the fight, clearly was the better fighter. And the third fight proved to everybody that yes, Figueiredo was dealing with a weight cut, and we're going to see a much improved Figueiredo in the third fight. Now, this third fight is where you're going to see the most improvement. Figueiredo was on a full training camp and had a great weight cut. Another thing to take note of was that Deiveson Figueiredo had been working with Henry Cejudo. So although I had a lot of problems with Figueiredo using the karate stances in the first and second fight, I do believe that Cejudo taught him how to use it a little bit better by using kicks, which is a big factor in this fight. And you could tell the clear game plan going into this was leg kicks, which was a great game plan because Brandon Moreno is a guy, like I said, a boxer. I said in the beginning of this video, a key word is heavy on the lead leg. Let's take Muay Thai fighters, for example. Muay Thai fighters like Charles Oliveira lift up that lead leg and aren't very heavy on it, which is why Justin Gaethje really didn't have so much success with those leg kicks, because a Muay Thai fighter lifts up the front leg, but a guy like Moreno is very heavy on that lead leg. We saw with Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier too, where Conor was in a more of a boxing stance and was getting chewed up by those leg kicks. Same thing happened to Moreno. Moreno must have gotten knocked down with those leg kicks probably like 3 times in the first round. Now, Moreno still in his mind in the third fight still does not want Figueiredo to go southpaw. Literally at the end of round 1, he's still kicking the inside of the leg. Now, the first round was a close one. The second round was a great round for Moreno. Figueiredo at the end of the second round goes back to what made him successful in the first fight early on, using that right hand over the top, which we talked about. Now it's at round 3 where the leg kicks finally take advantage. While you usually see Brandon Moreno stand like this, in this round he's starting to stand like this. You can see the back foot is a lot more flatter because he's trying to distribute his weight a lot evenly, which isn't how he fights. At this point, Moreno is very compromised in his movement, and because of that, I believe Figgy was able to land that right hand a lot more easier on Brandon Moreno and knocked him down twice in the third round. Man, I can't believe we just broke down all those fights, but we're gonna get into what I think we could take away from these fights and how we're gonna apply them to the fourth. Look, obviously I've said this is the number 1 flyweight, number 2 flyweight, and if I'm being honest, we still don't know who is number 1 and who is number 2. Of course, 1-1-1. I think if you're Moreno, the game plan's gotta be this. Normally he's more of a brawling guy, but go in there rounds 1 and 2, really wrestle, or at least try to get some sort of grappling exchanges with Figueiredo. We've seen Figueiredo gas, mostly probably because of that weight cut that he does. If you make him grapple early in the later rounds, he isn't going to have a lot of energy. Third fight, Figueiredo was already slowing down in the 5th round, and that was basically all stand-up. Now, I think if Brandon Moreno does that and has to find a solution for those leg kicks, if those leg kicks are still present, he loses the fight. Mixing his strikes and wrestling together, land takedowns on Figueiredo early, and then break him down with the hands later, I think he could probably finish Figueiredo. And Figueiredo had a really good game plan going into this one, using the leg kicks against the boxer. That's definitely what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to learn to mask those leg kicks because Brandon Moreno 100,000% has some sort of game plan involving the leg kicks. So you got to learn to mask it better. And like I said, I already touched on this. Figueiredo has to have learned a little bit better of how to fight on southpaw. Use that body kick from the southpaw position. He used it very well in that first fight. And look for that right hand over the top. In my opinion, I think that this is Moreno's fight to lose. I think if they're both both 100% the best versions of themselves that night, I think Brandon Moreno wins. Brandon Moreno lost last time because of mistakes. He couldn't check those leg kicks. He couldn't get it on the ground. That was why he lost the fight, in my opinion. After a lot of thinking, I've changed my prediction a lot. And if I'm being honest, saying this to you guys, it might change before Saturday. Like, I literally have no clue. I think I'm gonna go Brandon Moreno. I said literally in my video yesterday, Deiveson Figueiredo, that's how much it changes. Literally 24 hours ago, I had said Figueiredo. I'm going Moreno. I think Moreno has the power advantage now. I think because he has more confidence, he's able to go in there and really use his power to the max and land big strikes. I think if he avoids those leg kicks, I think he could win the fight standing up, and I think especially if it mixes in the grappling, it's his fight to win. Another thing to consider is James Krause is trained with Brandon Moreno. In that meantime, obviously he's not training with Brandon Moreno anymore because of, let's just say, his extracurricular activities. And also another thing is Figueiredo isn't going to be with Henry Cejudo. Another thing is this video is filmed before the weigh-ins. Who knows? Even though Figueiredo has said his weight is under control this week, his weight might not be. He might have another bad weight cut. But I'm gonna go with Brandon Moreno. I think he gets it done by another close decision. Honestly, I could see a scenario where Brandon Moreno doesn't even win a close decision. I could see him winning a pretty dominant decision as well. I genuinely think that last fight was very close because of those leg kicks, and I think Moreno will figure out a way to avoid them, and this will be a whole new fight. Getting to the part that I know a lot of you guys are excited about, the giveaway. Now, like I said, I'm doing this because I want to thank you guys for the support. You guys have increased my channel so much in the past month to basically 10,000 subscribers, so I want to say thank you to every one of you guys that comment on my videos regularly, watch my videos regularly, support. This is for you guys. I'm going to be giving away an Amazon gift card, well, 2 Amazon gift cards. I have already one giveaway on the channel that's still active and you guys could still participate in if you guys watch my Glover Teixeira video. But let me get into the rules of this giveaway. Now, they're a little different from the Glover Teixeira giveaway because I wanted to make it a little more simpler. Rule number 1, comment your prediction. Tell me who wins, how, what round, and tell me the exact minute. So if you want to say Brandon Moreno wins by knockout 1 minute into the first round, you could say that, or Deiveson Figueiredo wins by submission 3 minutes into the third round. That would work fine too. Also, leave your Twitter handle. You have to follow me on Twitter and also repost this video on your Twitter. Also, any edited comments will immediately be disqualified, and if you win, you will get an Amazon gift card, so make sure to do it on this video and the Glover Teixeira video. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.